Carlyn Rosenblum, and thank you for joining me on today's grocery store tour. We will be discussing hidden sources of added sugar. By the end of this tour, you should be able to list alternative names for sugar found on ingredient lists. You should also be able to identify common hidden sources of sugar and also recognize ways you can reduce added sugar in your diet. So before we begin our tour, I think it's important to discuss the importance of reducing added sugars in your diet. Americans currently consume 3 times more added sugar than is recommended, and over 74% of all packaged products found in the grocery store contain added sugar. It's currently recommended that you only consume about 25% of your total calories from added sugar. And this is important because added sugar has been shown to increase your risk for developing chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, liver disease, and heart disease. So before we begin our tour, I think we should discuss the difference between natural sugars and added sugars. So natural sugars are found normally in foods such as fruits, which contain fructose, and dairy products, which contain lactose. And while you may think you're eating healthy, skipping dessert, there could be a lot of added sugars in some foods that you commonly assume to be healthy. And so just because the label doesn't say sugar on it, it doesn't mean that sugar is not in the product. In fact, there are over 61 names for sugar, such as dextrose, high fructose corn syrup, sucrose, malt syrup, brown rice syrup, just to name a few. So we will discuss later on our tour, but it's really important that you're looking at ingredient labels to see if there is sugar in the product. So we'll begin our tour first in the produce section. Like I said, fruit contains natural sugar, fructose, and when you consume fructose in fruit, it's not normally a problem because fruit also contains fiber and other nutrients that help to slow down the digestion of sugar. However, when you consume items such as fruit juices or dried fruits, that's a different story. These items often contain a lot of added sugar, and additionally, the amount of sugar that you get from drinking, 8 ounces of apple cider versus the amount of apples you would have to eat to get that same amount of sugar is different. So again, the fiber and the nutrients are not seen in the juice, but they are in the whole fruit. With dried fruit, it's a more concentrated source of sugar because they take all of the water out of the fruit. So you are more likely to not only eat more apples than you would if you were to eat the whole piece of fruit, but additionally a lot of these products are also processed with sugar. So moving along with our tour, we will now discuss beverages. So beverages actually comprise the #1 source of added sugar in our diet. So while you may be, thinking you're making healthier choices by skipping soda, you may still be consuming a lot of added sugar, especially in drinks such as juices, as we just discussed, flavored teas, sports drinks. Those are all common sources of added sugar. So your best bet is just to stick to plain water, seltzer, or unsweetened teas. And you can flavor your water with cut up fruit, herbs such as mint, lavender, or basil to add a little more flavor. But again, it's easier for us to consume sugar as a beverage because we don't get as full. Alright, so again, our next section that we're going to discuss on our tour is condiments. And many people assume that condiments, because they're savory, don't actually contain sugar. But in fact, a lot of common condiments do contain a significant amount, and this can add up quickly in your diet. So one condiment that people love to eat with their food is ketchup. And ketchup contains about 4 grams of sugar, so 1 tablespoon per serving. So if you think about, you know, a meal where you're eating a hamburger and French fries, that can easily add up if you're having 3 tablespoons or 3 servings of ketchup. Additionally, pasta sauce is another common source of added sugar. So this pasta sauce actually contains 10 grams of sugar per half cup. So it just goes to show you that you really have to be looking at the foods that you're picking out at the grocery store, because just because it's not a sweet food, it still might contain sugar. Other sauces and condiments that commonly contain added sugar include barbecue sauce, low-fat salad dressing, because when they take out the fat, they have to add something back in, and oftentimes that's sugar. Our next section is the dairy section. So as I mentioned before, dairy contains lactose, which is a natural sugar. It's a very healthy food. It contains calcium and protein. However, a lot of flavored dairy, such as fruit-flavored yogurt, can contain a lot of added sugar. So for example, this Chobani raspberry yogurt contains about 16 grams of sugar. And while some of that might be from the lactose, it's still a significant amount of added sugar. So your best bet when choosing dairy products would be to go for the unflavored variety of yogurt. And you can add your own toppings such as fruits, nuts, a little bit of granola, whatever you'd like. Additionally, non-dairy milk has become extremely popular, and while it has a healthy connotation, a lot of the flavored items contain a significant amount of sugar. For example, this vanilla almond milk contains almost 16 grams of sugar, which is almost the same amount as in a Hershey bar. So again, your best bet is to go for the unsweetened variety. Alright, continuing with our last section of hidden sources of sugar, the grains. So grains are, again, another extremely healthy food. Foods such as oatmeal contain a ton of fiber and nutrients, and we assume that oatmeal is a very healthy food. However, similar to the dairy, a lot of the fruit-flavored oatmeals contain a significant amount of added sugar. So again, your best bet with the oatmeal is to go for the unsweetened plain varieties and add your own toppings. Again, fruit is a great topping, nuts, spices such as cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg are fabulous. Granola is another food that people commonly assume to be healthy, but can also contain a significant amount of added sugar. So when you're looking for foods, you want to be extremely diligent and really take a look at the words on the packaging. So for example, this brand, Kind Granola, advertises that this brand contains 33% less sugar. So again, you know, it's something that you need to be conscious of when you're buying products, and you want to make sure that you're looking for the products that advertise they are lower sugar. So I think it's really important that we discuss tips for you at home to reduce your added sugar. So the first thing you should do when you're looking for a product is check the total grams of sugar. So if you look at these two products, the Kind Granola contains 3 grams of sugar, whereas the Raisin Bran granola contains 16 grams. So you obviously can tell right off the bat that the kind granola is going to be the healthier option. Additionally, the FDA recently changed their labels, so in about 2 years, there will be a new line designated total added sugar. So you'll be able to tell the total sugar in the product as well as the amount of added sugar in the product. So after looking at the total amount of sugar, you want to check the ingredient list. As we discussed before, there are many common names for sugar. So while sugar might not be listed, you need to be looking for the other names such as cane syrup, brown rice syrup, and molasses. In addition to the names for sugar, you also need to look for where sugar falls on the ingredient list. So the items that are towards the top are the major ingredients in the product, whereas the items towards the end are the minor ingredients. So you really want to be looking for products that have sugar towards the end of the ingredient list. In addition to really being diligent about checking the packaging, you can make small changes at home, such as we discussed before. So, buying the unsweetened varieties of yogurt and oatmeal and non-dairy milks, and adding your own spices such as cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, fresh fruit, whatever you like. Also, you want to reduce the amount of added sugars that you consume as a beverage. So either by drinking water or by watering down your juice. That can really help to lower the amount of added sugar. Lastly, I think it's really important to say that you shouldn't try to make a million changes at once. You need to allow your taste buds time to adjust. So it's important to be conscious of what you're buying. It's not a good idea to really go cold turkey. Thank you for joining me on today's grocery store tour. I hope you learned a little bit about hidden sources of added sugar in your diet and ways to reduce your intake. I will be available for questions at the end of this tour, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good day.